Hello everyone, today's one chord a week is arguably the basis for all harmony and certainly the first chord any guitarist should learn. But even if you're a seasoned player, please stick around because I think you'll find some interesting tips throughout the video. Of course, we're talking about the major chord, prevalent in all styles of music from classical to the power rock ballad to jazz and pop and country and pretty much every other style of music is really the bar by which we measure all other chords. As a matter of fact, you take one note out and you get a power chord. You modify this note here and maybe you get a minor chord. How about we add that note there and we get a dominant chord? You see how it goes. So it's a very important chord, really a fundamental of music, and let's see how we build it. The formula of the major chord is quite simple, and as always it starts with a root, and for us in this series of videos that root will always be C. So we start from a C, that's a root, and then we have a major third, that's 2 whole steps above the root, so we just count. 2 whole steps is an E, okay, so C, E. The E is the major third. And then from the major third, we count a minor third, which is a whole step plus a half step, to get to the 5th. So now we have the root, the major third, and the perfect 5th, which is G. Okay, so together it's C as a root, E as the major third, and G as the perfect 5th. All right, so it's a simple formula. Let's see how it affects the sound. The major chord is so pervasive that everybody who has ever listened to about a minute of music in their lifetime will know it and be familiar with it. Some words that are often used to describe it are happy, bright, open, and things like that. And the reason is that the notes that make up the chord are very early overtones of the harmonic sequence, and therefore they're consonant. And basically the sound comes from these 2 factors. You have the happy sound, which is the major third. This is the uplifting and bright and active sound. And then this is rounded out by the perfect 5th, which is even more consonant and more stable. So you put it all together and you have the brightness and the happiness, so to speak, but it's also controlled and very round sounding. So it is a beautiful chord. One more thing about the sound that I would like to spend a minute on is the effect of inversions on the sound of the chord. So let's do it very simply with just simple triads. Okay, let's say I'm playing C, E, G, so the major chord, in root position. That means the root is in the bass, and then I have the 3rd and the 5th. This is the sound. So we have that major 3rd plus the 5th, and you get the idea of the basic C major chord. Now let's see what happens when we play the first inversion, which is E, G, and C. The same notes, but now we start on the 3rd, E. What happens now is this sound. So the sum of the sound is still a C major chord, but because I'm playing it in this order, there's a bit more emphasis on this first relationship here between E and G. And that's a minor third, you hear that? And then we have a major, perfect 4th from G to C. So technically speaking, we're not hearing a major third now. Of course, it is implied, and it's a major third from this C all the way down to this E, but that's technically a 6th down. So even though the overall effect is still a major chord, this sound is a bit more subtle. It's a bit more subdued, and it's just a tiny bit, just a very little bit, closer to minor to me because of the emphasis on this minor third. Yeah? And then when we move up to the next inversion, we have G, C, and E. And again, it's a different kind of sound because we have now, in the bass, we have a perfect 4th from G to C. So it sounds very official and regal in a way. And then from C to E, we have a major third. But there's no minor third. Again, there is a minor third from this E all the way down to this G, but we're hearing it from the bottom up, so we're hearing it as a major sixth. So this sounds definitely 100% major. This sounds to me a bit more minor, and this sounds a bit more regal. Now, of course, the actual sound is the same. In a chord, what matters is what notes we're playing and not the order in which we play them. But it's still something that you can use very, very well in composition and improvisation. I do it all the time. So let me preface this section by saying you should learn about 30 to 40 different ways to play C major. There's no other way around it. It's the most common chord. It's the one you'll modify the most by adding, removing, or changing certain notes. So you need all the flexibility you can get. All right, but as always, I'm just going to give you 3 positions today. And I'm just going to give you simple ones, just in case you're new to the guitar, then you can get started right away. Okay, so the first one is the usual open string position. We have 3 on the 5th string, 2 on the 4th, open string on the 3rd and 1st, and then on the 2nd, we put down the 1st finger on the 1st fret. So 3, 2, 0, 1, 0. Classic C major. And just an extra tip, you should learn it here too. But this you'll have to do yourself, all right? The second one is very common as well, very useful to access all the 7th chords, the sus2, sus4, even add 9s, the 6ths. It's a very good hub from which you can go and explore different chords. And it's very simple again. It's 3 on the 5th string, and then we have 5, 5, 5. And if you want, a 3 here. You don't need this note, but you can play it if you want. You can play with this little bar here, or you can play like this. You should certainly practice both of them. And the third one is the classic bar chord on the 8th fret. And it's very simple. We have a bar on the 8th fret, and that bar has to cover the 6th string and the 2nd and 1st, okay? And then everything else we'll take care of with these fingers. So it will be 8, 10, 10, 9, 8, 8. Okay, and of course, these are movable. Even the first one, you can move it to different keys, no problems. There are, of course, so many scales that go with this chord. It's ridiculous. Basically, everything that has a root, a major third, and a perfect fifth will fit. So we're talking about the major modes, Lydian, Mixolydian, of course. We're talking about many modes of the melodic minor scale and harmonic minor. Many other strange scales around the world that really focus on the major sound, you'll probably be able to fit them over this chord. But we shouldn't ignore the basic major scale and the major pentatonic scale, because I see a lot of people who are like, okay, I learned the major scale, now I can move on to more interesting stuff. And it's not so. The major scale really is the key with which you then open pretty much every door harmonically and melodically you'll ever find in music. So make sure you study very, very, very well your major scales, and of course the major pentatonic, which is related. So these are the 2 scales I'm going to talk about very quickly today. The major scale, of course, is C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And it's a great companion for a major chord, as you can hear. Now, the major scale, one bit of advice is that we're so finely tuned to it. So when I play major scale songs, like there's a song called one of my songs, and it's in E major, and you can't escape it, right? And so every time I play, it's a lot more scary than when I play exotic scales, because with exotic scales, even just minor scales, you can get away with something. A bit of dissonance here, something doesn't sound quite right there, maybe this bend is a little flat, you know, you can get away with it. But the major scale is so ingrained into our ear that everything that doesn't quite fit perfectly, then we hear it. And so it's terrifying to play major scales live, for example. But so certainly practice a major chord. And on top of it, just improvise a little bit with the major scale. Try to listen to all the different intervals, how they fit on top, and so on. The other scale is the major pentatonic scale. Again, very simple. It's a major scale, and we take out the F and the B, the 4th and 7th. The problem is you take out the B and the F, and now you have no half steps, no semitones. So everything that kind of make things interesting with dissonance or keep things moving in the scales, we taken them out. Okay, so it can be pretty hard to improvise things that are interesting and to keep the momentum going. If you want to listen to a song that makes extensive use of it, it's up here. It's called Written in the Sand. And it's just a scale you need to learn how to live with. Now, improvising over just a chord with that scale, it's a bit harder. It's hard to, keep things interesting and moving, but it is possible. So you should definitely check it out. And then as soon as you can, instead of playing over just one chord, play over a short progression. And that's it for the major chord. I hope you enjoyed it and you found it useful, even if you're a bit more advanced, that you could probably find some good info that you can sink your teeth into. And I will see you, of course, next week with a new one. If you enjoyed the video, please do subscribe, like, comment, and all that stuff that really helps out the channel so we can reach more people and teach to everybody who maybe can't afford a teacher. All right? So I hope you have a great week ahead of you, and I will see you very soon with a new chord. Bye-bye.